was life like with Ivan?
No, that's okay. My life was not, I mean, it's interesting. When I got married, I really thought that we will do more together than actually came to be. Because, first of all, I had to retrain as a medical doctor, which was a very hard year. I had to take all my exams again as a medical doctor, which was, I mean, that's a little bit traumatic. I was close to 40 and, being on call 3 times a week when you are at that age is not the same when you are young. So it was not an easy beginning, let's put it that way. And then I had many jobs. So I had my position to teach contextual therapy in the Hahnemann program. And actually I met, it makes me feel terribly old when I see some of the interviews of people on your program who had been my student at Hahnemann. That made me feel a little too old. I must admit that. So then I started a private practice in the same building as Ivan, but we didn't see families together very much because of some legal issues that if you are a couple treating the same family and you sued, then it's become very dangerous. So it's much better to keep our work separate. But that was really linked to some very, strange American legal realities. So we didn't see many families. We didn't see families together after we got married. And then I had the institute, the management, and the classes, the courses. I organized for all these years the training program in Chèvre in the summer and a summer program at the institute. So there we were very much working together for those programs. And then I was a consultant for many institutions. That's where I worked for over 20 years with this sort of very difficult kids with conduct disorders. And it was very funny because when I was working, people knew me as Dr. D. Nobody really made the connection with Ivan. So my practice with this population was completely independent. People just knew me as Dr. D. But I got a real, very strong reputation for helping these young people that many people who knew about my work in Philadelphia, including these young people that sometimes they would recommend me to some other young kids, say, look, psychiatrists are really bad, but you can talk with Dr. D. I mean, you should talk with Dr. D. So that was the best referral for me, if these wild kids were recommending me to each other. But it was very influenced by contextual therapy, but somewhat outside of my life as a spouse of Ivan and so on. So in that sense, we had some kind of professionally, we had some sort of separate lives. As far as one thing that I mentioned about my interest in history and so on, he was very, very interested in history. And there, in some funny way, we had some very strong connection from that background. And I learned a lot from him. I can say Kish Pippin and Noj Karol very well, speaking of history. And so that was a very strong link between us. And his interest of art. He was an artist. People don't know. He talked about this in one interview with Dorothy for AMFT, that he was very talented, but he believed he was not talented enough to become an artist. So he had to study medicine. That's easier. And actually, my father was a little bit jealous because he felt that Ivan had really, really serious talent. And they could talk to each other quite a lot about art and so on. They got to know each other. And there was a very funny thing about my father. He came to an EFTA conference in Budapest in 2001. And Ivan was already in a wheelchair, was pushing him with the wheelchair. And somebody said, how do you know Professor Nagy? So why do I not know him? I'm his father-in-law. And he was in his 90s at the time, my father. So that was very nice. So that was one thing. And then came, our life has damaged people, because I had this career until 2004, and it was interrupted abruptly because I needed brain surgery for a vascular problem that was extremely dangerous. So I ended up in rehab. I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to use my eyes. I came home with a walker, like pushing myself on a walker. So it was like the dance of wheelchairs and walkers. And if not for my Tibetan friends, I think we would have both ended up in nursing homes and maybe not even surviving. I don't know. So I'm still very, very grateful to them. But there we built up a totally different relationship of a tremendous understanding of each other and solidarity in our handicaps in a way. So of course I did recover, but I was just recovered by the time he died. Actually, I had still one more medical appointment to finish all my treatments. I had some problem with the leg. I still had a brace for my leg, and the doctors say, oh, you keep the brace when you go to Hungary because they are arapush kutia. So it's very good if your leg is protected. So I actually recovered more after he died. And so that part, I would like people to know about it more so than anything, because there, I think, we, there are vows of marriage. We say that you marry for the best and for the worst. And I would add 2 vows. You marry for the worst of the best and the best of the worst. And we did the best in the worst. And I think that made me very proud and strong after he died. So that's something I definitely want to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain.